Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 14th episode of the Diary of an Endodontist. And today we'll be talking about lateral canals. It's one of my favorite topics, so stay with me. This patient was referred to me, and when you see the x-ray, you probably say, oh, it doesn't look too difficult. You can see that it's probably there is a hypercementosis, or perhaps it's just the root configuration, but overall, you don't expect this tooth to be too difficult. However, when I went inside, the first thing was so hard to find the canals. It was quite calcified, difficult to find it. Once I found it, I started to navigate into the canals, and it was very, very tricky apically. I couldn't really tell where I was. It was like sometimes I was going in one direction, sometimes I was going another direction. So when we are endodontists, and we do quite a lot, our third eye is our hands. So when you are, that's what I consider, when we are filing the tooth, that's when you can see like how the anatomy of the canal is. So of course we use the CBCT as well to help, but very thin canals we cannot see. So if the lateral canal is a large lateral canal, you will be able to see on a good quality CBCT. But if it's like very thin canal, sometimes you cannot see it. And that's how it's tricky, because what you need to rely on is to the fact that you can't ledge your canal, you can't block your canal is very thin, you need to pre-curve the files all the time and use lots of irrigants. If you follow those principles, it's quite likely that you have a good result. But if you miss a step, you will end up blocking, ledging, fracturing a file, and things like that. So be very careful. A root canal treatment I consider like a denture. So you need to follow all the steps for that denture to fit. If you don't follow it, you will end up having trouble, and it's difficult to catch up later on. So in this case, that is why I find it tricky, although I loved this case when I was treating it. But it was quite tricky to negotiate. All the files were coming out like bent and all damaged because it was too difficult to negotiate. I'm certain that I haven't negotiated all the lateral canals. It was down to the irrigant. So if you do the irrigation properly, then the sealer, if it's a good sealer with a good flow, you will be able to see, once you obturate, you will be able to see those lateral canals filled. So it's quite tricky, but if you don't seal that properly, if you don't, first of all, disinfect it properly, then that periapical radiolucency may not disappear. It may be that you have residual bacteria, and that will persist with infection and symptoms with the patient. But if you do it properly, then as you can see here, I've enlarged a bit more because I was having trouble going apically. So I had to enlarge a little bit more in the middle of the root, which I don't like because you can have root fenestration. So I don't like to enlarge too much, but I was really struggling for my canals to go in the direction I wanted it to go. But as I said, if you follow all the principles, follow it properly, then 6-month review, you will start to see healing. And a good quality obturation sealer material, it will stay in those lateral canals, because if you use something soluble, that will disappear and then it will leave a void, and it's likely for you to have problems in future. But good quality, you take x-rays and you will see that sealing the canal properly. So I hope you have enjoyed those tips. And although it seems easy sometimes with the root canal treatments, and it seems quite obvious to follow those tips and tricks, but you will see that in some cases you need to remember that, because If you are in the early stage and you don't remember those things, you think the canal is easy and you start doing the canal, and then you can't understand why it failed or why you had too much trouble, why you ledged and blocked and fractured files. So pay attention on those cases, and good luck with all of your cases. And if there is anything I can help you with, please put in the comments below. Thank you very much, and you take care.